All good. Welcome to Whatnot Sellers, Colleen.
Thank you so much for having me. I've always wanted to come on, so I'm very excited to be chatting with everyone today.
I think like in radio, this is when you say like long time listener, first time caller or something.
Exactly. Yes. Finally, I'm calling in. I'm getting my few minutes of fame here.
Well, I'm super excited to have you as well. Welcome in chat. We'll give it a couple minute maybe, and then we'll get started. We'll just let people come in. Like 400 people here, Colleen. I think we can kick it off.
Sounds
Um,
good.
let's do it. Let's do it. Let's have a show. So, welcome everybody to Whatnot Sellers. Wow, big raid. Thank you, Vivian. My name is Kenny, and I'm on the community team here at Whatnot. If you hadn't met me before, our team really focuses on putting together programs and running programs that really focus on two things. One is educate sellers at scale, so help sellers gain the confidence, the skills, the knowledge, the expertise to be successful as Whatnot sellers. And then also the second part is bringing people together and building this level of community, which we all know is so special on Whatnot, and sort of what differentiates it from the other platforms. And so this is a place where you could see like just the vibes in the chat are so good, and people meet each other, etc. You get to see a little glimpse into the inside of Whatnot. Like I've got Colleen with us today. Again, this human to human sort of interaction. Um, we do a couple things on this account. So if this is your first time tuning into this account, go ahead and drop it a follow. You can bookmark upcoming shows. We do a couple of different things. We interview people in Whatnot, like internal members. So like Colleen, or I think last month we had Tom, or our chief product officer. And so we kind of like to, peel the curtains back a little bit, give you a peek under the hood. And then also what we do is sometimes interview sellers to understand sort of how did they build their businesses, their best practices, challenges, how do they overcome them, and things like that. So again, if you're new to this channel, we're super glad you're here. Make sure you bookmark, follow, do all that good stuff. And today, again, I'm really, really excited to have somebody who you've never met before, at least not on this channel, and that is Colleen. And Colleen is, I've been working with Colleen for quite a while now. She's a product manager on the seller growth side of the house. And so our friends in the chat who haven't met you, Colleen, can you introduce yourself? Maybe just like how long you've been at Whatnot, what your main focus is, maybe what your favorite category or most recent purchase is.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I've seen a lot of these shows go down and always wanted to come on and meet everybody. So appreciate the warm welcome. I'm here for a couple reasons. One, I want to give people a little bit, as Kenny mentioned, of insight under the hood into how some of the Whatnot systems really work and how you can take advantage of them to hopefully sell as much as possible, achieve your goals, etc. So we'll go through a little bit of that. And I'm also here to learn from you. So I'm a product manager here on the seller growth team. And really what we focus on is a seller's early journey. So from the point you decide you want to go live all the way, to your first few months, getting comfortable, making your early sales, building your audience, anything that a seller could experience in product during that sort of life cycle is fair game, something that I do focus on and try to improve for everybody. So after the show, I also will comb through the chat. So if you're having issues, or you want to make suggestions, I will read all of them. It doesn't mean we can get to all of them, but I really want to learn from you and just be aware. Um, so primarily what I'm here to do is learn from all of you guys, and also, like I said, share a little bit about what happens under the hood. So let's get into it. Um, all righty. So um, firstly, just want to talk a little bit about, yeah, what we focus on and sort of what we'll be covering today, which is live stream selling, relatively new format. I think people are very curious to try it and see if they can see success on Whatnot, but it's kind of different than anything they've ever done before. So even if they're successful on other platforms, teaching people the nuances of how to succeed on Whatnot specifically so they can maximize their earning potential is kind of what I care about the most. And if our onboarding process is good, which is something I focus on a lot, it should feel like someone who is in your category is sitting right beside you and coaching you on how to succeed. So there's so many different seller audiences to serve, and we're not there just yet. Like it is far off to make it feel like everybody has, the exact right size onboarding for them. But a big reason why I'm here today is to kind of learn from you guys about what sort of resources and tools you think you're missing, what could be really confusing for people. Like I said, I'll go back through the chat. And then I also want to know for people who have been around on Whatnot for a little bit longer, what would you tell a friend about how to actually get started so that we can bring some of that like humanistic feeling to the actual onboarding experience? So today, how we help people on the seller growth team is in a couple ways. One, like I said, we build a lot of these onboarding flows and checklists that sort of give people advice and insights and funnel them through the right set of tasks that they need to take before they go live. And then under the hood, there's also three separate algorithms that essentially boost new sellers and sellers in new categories who could be either established people or new. And these algorithms drive around 10 to 20% of all sellers being shown to a buyer. So, we do work to give new people a boost because otherwise, it can be hard to break out. More sellers, like a lot of people are thinking about, okay, Whatnot is letting on more people now who can sell than they did previously. That is true. We have seen a large amount of seller growth over the past couple of years in the ecosystem. I want to talk a little bit about why that's actually a good thing, which can feel counterintuitive because it feels like there's more competition. One is the number of buyers joining has actually outpaced new seller growth so sufficiently that there are now more buyers per seller than at any prior moment. So yes, there are more sellers, but Whatnot has this amazing community. Sellers bring on more buyers and attract more buyers in general. And so as the seller population grows, so does Whatnot's popularity amongst buyers. Theoretically, the seller to buyer ratio should be healthier than ever. Also, buyers, I think, used to come onto Whatnot a lot of the times for like a specific category. But now what we see is buyers are actually buying across multiple categories. So the quantity of buyers buying in multiple categories is almost 3x. And so what you'll see is like, even if there's explosive growth in fashion, maybe some of those people are coming over to, purchasing cards or, there's a lot of this like cross-category pollination. And then finally, as we expand into more categories and grow our team, we're not just focusing on like helping sellers get started, but one of the things I'm doing is looking beyond, okay, what happens in the actual first show, and how do people actually crush their initial selling goals? So I can't say too much yet, but we have, some exciting launches coming in the next couple of weeks and months that I think are actually going to really change the game in terms of how people will sort of get activated and break out. Okay, so for those in the audience who might not be fully familiar also with like what we do on a day-to-day basis, um, you know, we primarily focus on just building new seller experiences and testing them. So essentially what we do is like we make sure that for every new experience that is built, we are basically testing it on a subset of our users to make sure that it is the most impactful experience for new sellers. So you may know that one day your friend gets one thing and you get the other thing. It's because we make sure that we, drill down on the per user level to ensure that every single thing that we build is actually like a net positive for the seller audience. And we do a lot of sort of very technical testing to make sure that that's true. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, what we're focused on, and some of the ways that we support new sellers.
Cool. Thank you, Colleen, for that. And Chad, just wanted to reiterate if you have any questions for
For
Colleen.
Colleen.
Oh, now
Oh,
I'm
now
hearing
I'm
an echo. Okay, are you there? You can hear me? Okay, cool. Something up with this audio. So if you have any questions for Colleen, drop them in the chat, but please keep your questions related to the things that we're talking about here today. Seeing a lot of great questions, but a lot of them are just off topic. So if you'd like to ask a question about the topics that we discussed, you're more than welcome to. We'll try to get to as many as we can towards the end. And like always, we do go through the transcript at the end of every show and sort of do look at all of the questions, even the ones that we didn't address, just to make sure that, teams get visibility into the things that you're curious about. With that being said, let's first talk about We did a blog post yesterday, our monthly sort of product spotlight blog post. And in that, we talked about a really cool sort of new feature that circles around message requests. And I think that this is just kind of another iteration of, how we're evolving the inbox experience. And so can you summarize for this chat, kind of what is that? Why is it significant? And how is it going to help connect with buyers?
Yeah, absolutely. So, basically, we have a new message request feature, and we're basically helping people cut through a lot of the clutter. So anybody who is selling a lot or very engaged in the whatnot community knows how important direct messages are. But when you're dealing with friends and you're dealing with customers, and maybe you're dealing with people that are messaging you that you've never interacted with before, a lot of things can get lost in the shuffle. And so one of the things that we are going to do is going to create a message request feature. And what that really looks like is when somebody who previously have not interacted with sends you a message, they will land in a separate inbox. And you can actually decide if you want to accept the conversation. So that means your primary inbox is going to stay clear for the conversations that like really matter the most or are the most timely, which would be questions about products, updates on orders, and repeat customers who are like continually engaging with you in lieu of people that maybe are net new. It's not to say that you don't care about those people, but being able to prioritize them is going to be really important. So that is, one of the key reasons that we're doing this.
And then what kind of feedback have you heard from the community that sort of helped make this particular feature set a priority to build?
Mostly just that people's inbox can be really overwhelming and that it prevents them from responding to customers in a timely manner, especially if it's like during a show or right after a show. And so it can just be really distracting for people and prevents them from giving the level of customer service to their buyers that they'd like to. And so that's primarily where, that was the impetus for building this feature.
It's awesome. I actually have it on my version of the app, and it's very good. Like I actually had my first interaction with it where I did have a request, and I was able to click into it to see it. It was a legit request. It wasn't like somebody spamming me or sending me their live show that I've never even tuned into. And so I really did appreciate sort of like that new level of, I guess, just vetting that I now have control over on my DMs. So it's really great. Where can sellers go to see this feature on the app? I know that it'll be sort of rolling out slowly. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we'll be rolling this out over the next month. So you got to keep an eye out for this update in your inbox. Like I said earlier about testing every little thing, we do some slower rollouts for larger features just to make sure that we can deliver like the most stable experience for everybody. So not everybody will necessarily get it at the exact same time.
Okay, cool. So keep your eyes out for that. And if you want to kind of like learn more, hear it, read about this a little bit more before you get the rollout, if you haven't gotten it already, again, we're kind of covering all of the things that we talked about in our blog post from yesterday. And thank you, Casey. You're right on time. She's pinned it. Shout out to Casey. She's modding, doing OBS, all the things, grabbing questions, really doing all the heavy lifting as Colleen and I just chat. And then you could check out more at blog.teamwhatnot.com to check out that blog, read a little bit more about what we're talking about here. But also, if you're not familiar with our blog, it's just a fantastic resource to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest, whether it's product updates, whether it's on app events, whether it's really interesting reports that we put out on the status, the state of live streaming commerce. It's just a great place. A lot of awesome articles that you can dig into, and also new ones coming online all the time. And within that, within that blog post yesterday, Colleen, we also talked about, we did a little bit of a deep dive into two emerging categories. I think is really exciting. So that's food and drink, and then also watches. And we're seeing a ton of growth in these categories over the last few months. And I think it'd be fun just to kind of chat through why that is and kind of your point of view on that. And so, what are your thoughts on those two kind of categories that are just absolutely exploding at the moment?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kenny. So I think food and drink and watches are sort of universally successful categories on other platforms as well. Right? Like food and drink is very accessible. We all love, tasty snacks, etc. Just that it hadn't really blown up on Whatnot just yet. So we're starting to get a lot of sellers who are interested in selling in these categories. And so that sort of has this amazing halo effect of they're bringing on more buyers who are interested. And, like I said, there's a bit of a snowball where the more activity we have on the seller side in these categories that, is attractive to buyers, the more we're going to see that these are growing quite quickly, and watches as well. Like I think it's funny, my boyfriend is actually a big buyer and watches on Whatnot, and these shows are so interesting because the production value is really, really high when it comes to people who are selling vintage finds or collector pieces. A lot of people who are into watches have a lot of expertise, so it's a perfect marriage of like a really engaging show and also inventory that can be hard to find other places. And so, like I said, like the more that that community grows, the more there's sort of this halo effect of more buyers and sellers being attracted to these two categories.
Love that. And congrats to the giveaway winner. Stay around. We're going to put up another givey. Chat, we're almost at 600 people. This is massive. So if you're you want to tag your friends, share the live stream. Again, this is a great resource for all Whatnot sellers. We appreciate you guys hanging out. For those that are looking, kind of like from your point of view, Colleen, for those that are looking to expand into an emerging category, how would you suggest that they sort of start doing that or thinking about that as a Whatnot seller?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the most important thing to do is to actually watch those shows. What are these sellers doing in these particular categories? It's distinct from what's happening in your own category. Ask sellers questions. There's a chat for a reason. And so I think you can, generally just ask people what their experience has been selling in that category. And then you can try it for yourself. I think that food and drink, for example, that's an area where you wanted to explore and do a little bit of piloting. You absolutely should. Watch is maybe a little bit harder from an inventory perspective, but you won't know if you don't try. So for some of the newer categories that are blowing up, where you want to, enjoy some of the buyer growth and interest that's happening, talk to sellers and try it for yourself.
I think you just convinced me to try selling something. So I've been selling on Whatnot for like as long as I've been at Whatnot, like 3 years, and I've only done diecast. And I'm thinking like now I've got a pretty good following. Like I could dip my toes into other things. So I don't know, chat. Maybe I'll do a little Labubu pop up or something. I feel like there's a lot of things that you could get into with relatively low. There's not a big barrier to enter, and so I think I'll do it. Actually, I do have a show this Sunday. If you want to come through, hang out on a Sunday, my username is Silver Drip, and I go live about once a month. But like I said, I usually do diecast. But you can come say hi. Always love seeing folks that were in here come through and say what's up. You're welcome to come over. So Colleen, we're gonna pivot now to like a slightly different topic, and I think that this is something that if we have some newer sellers in the chat, I think they're gonna glean a lot of kind of knowledge from. And I love this topic personally. This is something I could talk to you about for an hour straight, just this. And it's about going live with confidence. We know that look, live selling is a relatively new form of commerce, like especially in this country. And so a lot of folks who want to do it, they sort of come to the table and they're like, well, I'm a little anxious about it. Like, I don't know how to do it. I don't want to be on camera. I don't know how to this. I don't know how to that. And that's all very like normal and part of sort of like the learning curve. And I always say, just go live, like just hit the go live button. You're not going to break anything. Nothing terrible is going to happen. And that's the best way to get started, right? A lot of new sellers feel like they need to have the perfect setup, the perfect audio, the perfect, inventory, everything perfect before they go live. And I'm of the belief that like, just go live and like figure it out on the fly and you'll do great. But within that, there are some like proven tips that we can cover here, Colleen, that I know that you believe really are meaningful and helpful to new sellers. And so maybe a new seller is feeling a little overwhelmed or whatever. It doesn't hurt to revisit these kind of basic tips. And I think even if you're an experienced seller, you could get something out of this before kind of going to your next live show. And so what are some of your favorite sort of key tips that you think, are worth mentioning here in the context of like going live with confidence?
Yeah, great question. So I'm seeing it's so funny. I love all the questions that are coming in the chat, and I'm very tempted to answer as many of them as I can. So I will definitely be combing through this after the show. But I think Mike Scorpion asked, Colleen, can you please tell us how the algorithm works. And I think people generally seem to be of the mind that the algorithm is kind of the difference in terms of what's going to make them successful or not. And I'm here to talk maybe a little bit about that, but also to talk about all of the other things outside of the algorithm that are certainly in your control that are proven to result in more sales and are also proven to result in the first sale. So for those who are new to whatnot, do listen up. Okay. Let's talk about the new seller first. So you're a new seller, you've decided you want to sell in your category of choice, and you've just filled out some of the seller application information. And now we're telling you and urging you to schedule your first show, and that there's, some incentives that might be expiring, and you're extremely overwhelmed. We have a checklist. And the first thing the checklist is going to ask you to do is to schedule your first show. So I'm going to literally go down the checklist and share exactly what I would share with a friend of mine who's about to do this. So take notes, listen up. There's no like crazy secrets going on here, but I'm just gonna, give you the lay of the land. So everybody's wondering like, when should I go live and when's the best time I'm going to go live? Because one of the first things we asked you to do is schedule. The most important thing to do when scheduling is to choose an amount of time where you have like 30 minutes to an hour to sell. So if you're a new seller and you don't have a lot of experience with live streaming, don't expect the first 15 minutes to necessarily pop off. You're going to be like getting the lay of the land. If you saw me today, even with my microphone, you need a little bit of time to understand how the flow works and hit your stride. So do not schedule when you only have like 15 minutes. I actually look at the distribution of shows and you would be shocked how many people go live for the first time for just a few minutes and then kind of like, give up or they're busy, etc. So pick a chunk of time that you can actually commit. So you've scheduled your show now. Do not forego basic things like a good title and thumbnail. This is the billboard for your show. And if buyers don't see an attractive title and thumbnail, they're not necessarily going to click on your show, right? And so do think about the marketing a little bit. You have expertise in your category. If you were a shopper, what would make you actually want to like tap on that thumbnail? Seems really obvious, but you'd be shocked how many people get this wrong. So, okay, you've created a show, you have a compelling title, you have a good thumbnail. Like I said, that's the billboard for your show. And now we're asking you to add products. There's so many different schools of thought about the right way to do inventory management on Whatnot, but I'll tell you what I know works for sure. And then for people that, feel like they want to use a different inventory management style, I totally respect that. We see people with many different types of inventory management succeed. If you add listings with images and descriptions in your auction or in your bin, you will be discovered by more buyers. And the further in advance that you add them, the more likely you are to get bookmarks. And I'm not going to necessarily say exactly how that plays into the way that your show gets promoted on the platform, but what I can say is that if somebody's searching for an item you have in your upcoming show, you will show up in search, right? And you're just going to reach more people on Whatnot. I'm not saying you have to list every single thing, in the universe, but for some of the inventory that you think is like, compelling to people or you imagine would be popular in your category or that you just have time to list, I would highly recommend doing that. Even if you're doing palette pulls and you can pick like a couple things, that you think are representative of the types of inventory that you have, it will help with your discoverability. And that's a really important facet of going live for the first time. Like make sure that, your show is going to be surfaced to as many buyers as possible. A lot of people ask about giveaways too. It's up to your comfort level, but as we know, follower-only giveaways are a great way to build your following and engage with the audience. People sticking around for a giveaway are also more likely to, peruse your shop, engage with you, etc. And so I personally, if I were telling a friend, I would say I would run a follower-only giveaway in your first show. But again, it is up to you, like what your financial situation is and if you want to be covering the shipping for that item. If you pick something really light, it's going to be extremely cheap. But again, I don't want to like aggressively say you have to give something away for free. It's a nice promotion tactic if you can use it. Okay, so you have a show, has a great thumbnail and title. You have a shop that doesn't have to be chock full of products, but it has to be full of enough things where your show will get surfaced to the right people. Um, what do you do next? There's kind of this, maybe you're going live in 24 hours. If you have 24 hours, the most important thing to do in advance of your show is invite people to attend your show who are not necessarily on Whatnot. Or if you already are on Whatnot, you have relationships, let the people that you've built relationships with know that you're going to have this show. So everybody probably has like mom and dad or a friend or a partner. You can share your referral link with that person if they're not on Whatnot yet, so that in your show they can come in with $15 to buy something from you, which is kind of a layup, right? If you want to make your first sale, give credits to people that you know who are going to, support you. My parents and family came to my first show. It's a lot nicer to like have a couple people in the room as you're figuring things out that can support you. Be active in the chat. You don't want to be shouting into an empty forest. On top of that, if you are able to drive a purchase in your early shows, or we find that people like to stick around and hang out and watch in your shows, you will be rewarded for that. So I don't want to share too much about how everything works, but what I can say is that if there is activity in your early shows, that tells Whatnot that hey, people like this seller. Maybe we should show this to more people. So, like I said, all of the tactics that help get people through the door, either driven by us, but facilitated by you, like your title, thumbnail, etc. Staying live for more than 15 minutes. So the more time you're live, the more people that can come in the door. And then also evangelizing your show. If you have a big following on Instagram or something like that, put your link in your bio or your story. If you're someone normal like me, invite your friends or family or someone that's willing to watch you as you're getting started. Okay. So then you're about to go live for the first time. Plug in your phone. My phone died in my very first show. You'd be surprised. Going live can really suck your battery. Plug in your phone. Phone is your camera and microphone. Laptop is your command center where you're sort of managing chat, pinning and running items, etc. And then in the actual show itself, uh, I look at a lot of sellers who make a sale in their first show and a lot of sellers who don't. And one thing that is really distinct between these two groups is the sellers that make a sale are pinning items and running them. And they're not necessarily like pinning and running things at $1. They're selling items at the price that they're comfortable with. But there's just a flow of items that are moving so that when you're a buyer and you're coming in the door, it's not like you're walking into a boutique with nothing on the rack, right? So you need to make sure that people understand that this is like an active show. Things are moving. You don't need to start things at $1. Start things at the price that you're willing to let them go for, but keep the flow moving. That is like one of the biggest differences between the people that are successful and not in their first show. They just have good velocity of pinning their buy it nows or running auctions. They don't necessarily have the fanciest setup or the best microphone. Sometimes they don't even have the best inventory, but they're selling that inventory. It's not like a wait for someone to come in the door and ask them what they like. Of course, you can greet people, but make sure that you're continually keeping the show active. And like I said, it's a lot easier to do that if you've invited friends, family, or followers who are sitting with you, because it just makes it more fun, and two, it can be a little less awkward. Like when you're getting started, it's not like necessarily like people are going to flood in some cases, and so just having people that are there that are your supporters is really helpful. Finally, last tip, you kind of have to go live with some level of regularity and frequency. So I didn't start actually successfully selling a lot until like my third or fourth show. And I had around 2 shows a week as I was getting started. If you talk to the best sellers, some of them are streaming 24/7 who have like massive businesses. And then if you talk to, just some of the new people who have seen success, they're like, oh, I go live every Sunday. Or, I was willing to try it for X number of hours, and kind of stick with it. So it's a newer format. Sometimes there are nuances. But just to summarize, like market your show. And that means title, thumbnail, adding some great inventory, sharing externally, make sure that those people you're sharing with actually show up, and keep the show really, really active. If you do all of those things, you're going to be in a good spot as a new seller for your first show. But don't let your phone run out of battery like me. So that's for the new seller audience. What I would suggest, and that's irrespective of category. This is, tried and true knowledge that works across categories.
So, chat, hope you were paying attention there. That was absolute knowledge bombs being dropped. Here's the good thing. We started hosting these shows after they're live, after we end them. We end up putting them up on a YouTube playlist under the main Whatnot account on YouTube. So if you missed something Colleen said, or you just want to go back and hear it again, or whatever, this will be up probably next week, maybe late this week. So again, we do have now a playlist of past Whatnot seller shows, and you're able to consume that whether you miss a show here, you want to hear something you may have missed. So you could check that out. But really, like, I think that those are all amazing points to consider. I also do, and I'd be remiss, Colleen, if I didn't come back and that always, like, consistency is everything on Whatnot. So all of those things, even if you do them, you must do them consistently. And that would give you even the best. I mean, look, Whatnot is, it's a slow and steady kind of process, right? It's not a flash in the pan. And what we've seen time and time again is that sellers that go live consistently, new sellers, they go live, say, on Fridays at noon, and they do that every Friday for 3 months in a row. They end up doing really well. And so I have a statistic here that I'd like to share with you guys. And it is sellers who go live at least once a week at a regular time see 20% more success in their first 3 months compared to those who go live more often or for longer, but irregularly. Again, consistency, chat, is everything here. Again, we can't like completely peel back the hood and tell you how and why and everything, but the things here that Colleen shared, if you're a new seller, like, if you stick to those and you do those things consistently, you will see traction. And so thank you, Colleen, for sharing those. The chat was pretty hot. Like, I was trying to keep up with the chat. It's pretty rowdy, and everyone's pretty
Okay.
excited. Everyone's pretty excited about these
I see
gems.
Thriftwork says, guys, I
Yeah.
think we can get Colleen to tell a secret. She's
Yeah. Thrift works. Nice
this
try,
is
buddy.
real. Yeah, you know what? Thrift works. I do not mind telling you how you can be successful. I want as many sellers to be as successful as possible. So for the people that are willing to take this advice and put in the work, I have no problem sharing what I think is the best playbook. But yeah, I love the chat, just seeing what's coming through.
It's excellent. And again, Chad, if you're just joining us now, we're talking with Colleen, product manager on the seller growth side. And if you do have a question specific to seller growth or any of the things Colleen kind of mentioned here, about building confidence or whatever, drop it in the chat. We've got a good long list that we're about to go to. But if you still have a question and it's regarding sort of the topics that we're talking about here today, if it's not completely off topic, we'd love to address that live for you. Also, tap into the giveaway, your chance to enter. And yeah, let's pivot now, Colleen, to some Q&A. I mean, that was super insightful. But of course, the chat have their own questions, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so let's try to get to as many as we can. Kicking it off with this question is coming from Clutch Hit. Are there plans to improve the buy it now experience outside of shows so buyers can more easily bundle purchases?
Yeah, great question. It is something that we're looking at, but I can't share exactly what the plan is just yet. So, just generally, we do care about enhancing the buy it now experience. You do see Whatnot playing around with like different formats, like flash sales, investing more in bins, or we call them bins internally, buy it nows. So can't share anything too specific yet, but it is something that we are actively working on.
Appreciate that. And I'm going to address something real quick. A lot of questions in the chat are around, we want Whatnot merch and also Whatnot gift cards. So I'll just speak to that very briefly. We know that y'all want this. It's something that we hear pretty frequently. And on the merch side, I do think we do have plans to maybe offer some kind of merch store. Again, I don't have a date on that, et cetera, but I do know that the marketing team is considering that. And on the Whatnot gift card side, also, we would love to be able to keep credits in-house and not have sellers give away Amazon gift cards or any other e-commerce platform, Starbucks gift cards. The challenge there is that this has been brought up also before, the international side of it. Like, there are different rules and regulations and laws that kind of come along with credits. And so our team is trying to figure that one out, and I'm sure that we will. Again, so those both of those are on kind of our roadmap. I just don't have like a specific date to share with you. Otherwise, I'd love to. But you could stay tuned and hear more about that down the road. But thank you for mentioning that. I mean, again, we do parse out this chat transcript, and these are all things that will be like, okay, well, this was mentioned frequently. Like, we should look at that more closely. Next question is coming from, I hope I don't butcher this too bad, Duff Carrier Treasures. Does Community Boost put new buyers in your room?
Yes.
And maybe we could, Colleen, before we talk about, yes, the answer is yes. But maybe like there are probably some folks in the chat that don't know what Community Boost is. Can you speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, so Community Boost is technically one of our ads products, and it's honestly one of my favorite community-based products at Whatnot because you can essentially, with a group of people in a show, everybody can chip in a little bit to give that show extra distribution so that show can reach more buyers. So let's say Kenny's going live for the first time. I come in there with a couple of friends, and I'm like, I want Kenny to have a great first live experience and reach extra buyers. And so we all pay in to the Community Boost so that the Whatnot ads product can basically disseminate his show to more people on Whatnot. Yes, it does work. The ads products do work. It's up to you if you. It's one of the many promotion tools that you can use, obviously, outside of going live regularly and messaging people internally and externally from Whatnot, filling up your shop. But some sellers do rely on ads. It is a form of ad not paid for by the seller.
Yeah,
And
it's a lot. Yeah, it's what's that, Colleen?
and it does work.
Yes, it does work. And it's also a lot of fun, like you were saying, right? There's also this element of like crowdsourcing, like this promotion for a seller that everybody likes. It's a lot of fun, and I agree. I think it's on the community side, probably one of the coolest features we have currently. The next question's coming from I have to have that great username. What can sellers do to sort of help their visibility or enhance themselves within the feed, et cetera? Obviously, without spilling the beans on the algorithm, but what can you share there? I know you shared a couple things already, like preloading your store, et cetera. Is there anything else there that you could maybe suggest sellers do to get more visibility?
Yeah. So there's before your show and there's during your show. So before your show, many of the things that apply to new sellers also apply to existing sellers. So have you scheduled your show in advance? And can people discover that who happen to be interested in your category or the items you have for sale? So that means that one, a lot of sellers who are really successful have at least one upcoming show, and in many cases, a series of upcoming shows that people can bookmark and interact with shops that are compelling in that category. So what I mean by that is, yes, lots of people who build an ongoing audience or they may be doing pallet pulls, which is clearly a very successful format. But if you're a new person and the shop is completely empty and it's like a net new buyer who's trying to discover you, they need to understand what you're selling so that they can get excited about it. And so the way that they're going to do that is the title, the thumb, and also the shop. Of course, have good reviews and make sure that your profile looks legit. But the way that you can reach people in advance is those three promotion tactics, and then also like actively telling people that you're going to be going live internally and externally. But during the show, honestly, the way people are always like, how does the Whatnot algo work? I think that what I can say about it is that if you have a show that is high quality, we're really good at determining that's the case and sharing it with more people. And when I say, okay, what does high quality mean? If you have buyers who are consistently showing up, sticking around in the show, and purchasing from you repeatedly, we can infer that there are other buyers out there that would probably want to do the same thing. So, I don't want to like share too much, but I will say like if you're having high quality shows that buyers love and they demonstrate that they love it because they're watching and purchasing from you, you will be rewarded algorithmically for that behavior. And it seems like overly simple, but it really is, that that obvious. Like you have a great show that people want to watch, and we'll make the assumption that more people on Whatnot want to watch as well. Um, so
Awesome.
yeah,
That's super helpful. I love it. And okay, so we got a couple more questions. Maybe we try to rapid fire because I want to get to as many as we can.
sure.
So I can take this one, Colleen. Rusty and Reed's Closet is asking what resources are available for new sellers. This is a great question. And the reality is there's quite a lot. So let me just kind of drop them down. The first thing I'd recommend for you is Seller Academy. So Casey, could you please pin the URL for Seller Academy here in the chat? And specific, so Seller Academy is a website. It's got a ton of resources. It's got like pre-show checklist, post-show checklist, a bunch of new, suggestions and tips for getting ready for your first show. There's a URL, selleracademy.whatnot.com. Last week, I added something that's new there, and I want you all to check it out because it's an excellent resource. And that is what we call I think it's called our new seller handbook or new seller guide. It's right there on the homepage. It is linked out. And within that guide, it's essentially like think of it as like a PDF guide that covers so much good information. It covers shipping and like the biggest asked questions about shipping. It's a brand new guide. It covers some of the tools that you can use, like coupons, like Rewards Club, like free shipping. It covers efficiency and how you could be more efficient as it's just super full of a lot of good information. Again, you can get that at selleracademy.whatnot.com. And then within that, under resources, it's called like new seller handbook. So you'd click on that and it'll just open up. It's in Canva. You don't have to have a Canva account, and it'll open it up even if you don't have a Canva account. So highly recommend you check that out. That's probably like the first thing I'd recommend. Second thing I'd recommend is we have a wonderful help website, help.whatnot.com. Operates kind of like a search engine. So there's just a search field where you would type in. So if I have a question, say about flat rate shipping, right? I want to learn more about it. I would type in flat rate shipping, and it would kind of populate all of the articles that are associated with it. And so I'd say like 9 times out of 10, you're going to find you can self-serve any answer to any question that you might have. So rather than reaching out to support and having kind of like a back and forth and waiting and this, I just say like find that information yourself. And if you can't, then maybe reach out to support. But I'd say like 99% of the times you can find what you're looking for. So again, help.whatnot.com, selleracademy.whatnot.com. This account, drop it a follow. Colleen just shared a ton of great information here for new sellers and experienced sellers. And so there are a lot of resources. There's tutorials on YouTube as well. Again, check out the Whatnot channel on YouTube. And there are a bunch of short, like 60-second video tutorials. So really cool information there. There's no shortage. Everything is kind of out there for you. Next question comes from Ochez Collections. How does multicasting work? Colleen, can you speak to that one?
Oh, why don't you take this one, Kenny?
Yeah, so multicasting, again, this is something that like you certainly don't need to do as a new seller. In fact, I've never done it myself, only because I don't have a follow. What it allows you to do is allows you to sort of like have your Whatnot live show also casted over to your what is it, YouTube or TikTok or like any of these other social media channels. But I don't use it because I don't have a big following on any of those accounts. Like I'm not a social media influencer. I think the use case here is probably more specific to folks who might be coming to Whatnot from another platform with an established audience. But again, if you really are interested in this feature, it is there. You could go to help.whatnot.com, search multicasting, and you could become an expert in it in short order. I mean, obviously, this is something that I haven't used, so I can't really speak from my own experience on it. But again, I think it caters more to the folks who come to sell on Whatnot who may be coming from a different platform with an existing audience. Next question comes from Tiff LDO3. What does pin an item mean? So when you mention pin an item, what do you mean, Colleen?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you pin an item, you go into your shop and there's a little bit of a push pin that you would use on a bulletin board. And pinning the item will make it show up in the bottom of your show, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the auction has started. So for an auction, maybe you want to talk about something that you're about to sell. Like you have a Pokemon card, you can pin the item, talk about it so people can know specifically what you're about to sell, and then start the auction. So some people who run really fast-paced shows rely a lot on like run next, and it's just auction after auction after auction. But other people like to actually showcase what the product is in advance, talk about it a little bit, and then run the auction. Depends a lot on like how expensive your inventory is, how you like to run your show, etc. But as a new seller, so let's go back to the new seller scenario. Right when you start your show, you should go into your shop and either pin the first thing that you plan to sell, or just pin any item that you think is interesting. Because as people are sort of getting to know you and what your inventory is, and they tap into your show, seeing something that's pinned that's representative of what you're going to sell actually helps people determine if they're going to stick around or not. If there's nothing pinned, sometimes people will just swipe to the next thing because this is not an active show. There's nothing happening. So put yourself in the mindset of the buyer, and make sure that you're pinning and running with frequency. Cool.
Cool, cool. Appreciate that, Colleen. Here's a good question. I like this question. Hot Mama 62. What is your thought about using the same thumbnail for the same show that you're doing once a week? So I guess a show that's happening, say, every Wednesday, you know? I have my opinion, but I'd love to hear yours.
Okay, I love this question because it does depend. I think the first thing is like, what is the thumbnail? If it's just your profile picture, then hopefully you have an existing audience already that recognizes you, because then they'll know, that you're live. But using like your profile icon is not necessarily the best way to attract new buyers, right? So what you need to think about is, one, does my existing audience recognize who I am so that when they see me on the feed, they can like easily tap? But also, does somebody who's new, because your business is going to grow not from just existing people, but also from attracting new people, can they get a sense of what is going to be for sale in this show? Like, is this actually a good billboard for my show, or is this just something that I'm reusing again and again and maybe doesn't accurately reflect the inventory? So I guess the advice that I would give is, yes, a lot of big sellers reuse the same thumbnail, or they're using their profile picture, which it defaults to, which would be no thumbnail. But the best thumbnail strategy is that it's a good advertisement for that show. If you're selling a lot of the same things again and again, I would keep it consistent. But if you're actually like switching up the types of inventory, you probably want to have an accurate thumbnail that represents what people can expect from you.
Thanks, Colleen. I appreciate that. Um, Next question is from Briss Blue Moon Boutique. How do I find seller meetups? So this is a great question. Actually, it's something that our team on the community side have been kind of tinkering with and experimenting with. So IRL, in real life, seller meetups. Now, listen up. If you are a seller and you're in this live stream right now and you're interested in hosting a seller meetup in your local area, email community@whatnot.com and just say, hey, I was here, I'm interested. And we'll put you sort of on the list so that when we're ready to sort of experiment with this at a larger scale, we'll know to reach out to you. Again, Casey, if you want to drop it in the chat, it's just community@whatnot.com and just say, hey, I'm interested in hosting a meetup in my local area. And then someone will get back to you. So that's that. Good question. And then next question, we're going to take just a few more chat and then we're going to raid somebody, which is always fun. So, and
Also, don't
also,
worry if we didn't get to your question. I'm going to read every single question after this.
yeah, we
And I'm
do.
seeing a lot of themes actually come up, and it's really important for me to understand like what you guys are thinking about, because it influences what actually gets built. So I really appreciate people who are sharing what they're struggling with or what's missing. I'm seeing a lot of stuff in Android too, which is a focus of mine. So pretty cool to see all of this coming through. Um,
For sure. Yeah. I'm also seeing a lot of great stuff that, unfortunately we've got like 600 people here. We cannot get to every single comment. But again, I want you to know that this is a super important channel for us to glean feedback, user feedback. So, myself, Colleen, et cetera, we will go through this chat transcript, literally comment by comment, bucket it into categories, whether it's a bug, whether it's a product feature request, whether it's a recurring pain point, whatever it is, and we get it to the right team internally. So this is just one way. I mean, philosophically, like Whatnot, we really pride ourselves in listening to our customers. It really drives everything that we do, everything that we build. You guys help inform it, and so I want to just say thank you for all of this great feedback. Okay, here's a question. What can we do? This comes from Don the dealer with an yeah, I think I got that right. What can we do as sellers to help with viewer retention? So we talked a little bit about this, but again, I've got my thoughts. But since Colleen is our new guest, I'd love to hear kind of Colleen. What do you think here? It's a great question, right? There's so many ways to answer it.
Okay. Um, there's sort of the beginner and the advanced version of this, right? But the beginner version is a lot of the things that I already talked about, which is that if the show is not active, so you're not pinning things or running things, it's pretty hard to retain viewers unless for some reason you've set the expectation that you're just ripping packs or you're here to hang out and you want to chill with the community. So make sure that your show is active. Put yourself in the shoes of the buyer. Why should they reasonably stick around in your show if you're not running like a sort of steady cadence of items that are being sold? So that's one thing, like have an active show. I think the second thing is that as you grow your audience on Whatnot, you'll start to see a lot of the like same people hopefully coming back. And the way that you get the same people to come back is one, offer them a really good experience. Like if you're not shipping your items within the expected shipping window or they arrive not as described, it's going to be hard to retain viewers because a lot of sellers, sort of benefit from some of the same people coming back. So I think it goes for running any sort of business, but obviously, especially on Whatnot, you will retain viewers if you give people a really solid purchasing experience. And I think the third thing, there are just some like, for example, with giveaways where people are waiting around to see what happened or it creates excitement. There are some tools like that that you can leverage as well. But I think that you don't necessarily have to be giving things away. Run an active show with inventory that you think is interesting to people and give them a great purchasing experience. And that is like the most important thing. If you think about future shows, make sure you also have a few things, like I said, at least one or two shows scheduled in advance so that the same audience that is enjoying your current show can then go ahead and bookmark your upcoming shows or feels good about following you because they know that there are some things that are happening in the future related to your inventory. But yeah, I would say those are just like the basics of viewer retention. And if you recognize somebody or someone's coming in, and especially if you don't have tons of people in your show, I think it really helps to greet them. I know that this is like common sense, it seems, but some of the magic of Whatnot as a buyer is that when you tap on a show, it feels like walking into a store at the mall where there's like a sales associate, and it feels good to be greeted and included. Otherwise, you can sort of anonymously bounce out and leave. But I think when the seller really does try to engage with people in the chat and greet them as they come in, that it does go a long way, especially for the new people when you have less than 10 people in the room.
Yeah, and beyond all of the great things that Colleen just shared, I would encourage you to do a little like reconnaissance, like go on Whatnot and check out the shows, and then the shows that you end up retaining in, like that you end up sticking around, say for 5, 10 minutes or more. Try to understand what that seller's doing, right? Like objectively, like what about that had your attention? Was it the inventory? Was it the fact that they were running auction back to back? Was it the giveaways? Was it the chat that was being super interactive? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that happen in any given show that you can glean in sort of any kind of inspiration from. And I really do. I recommend this to new sellers too. It's like also look outside of your category, right? Like, say you're a sneaker seller, you just started selling in sneakers. That's awesome. But don't forget, like, there are some very successful sellers in other categories, and they're doing a lot of really cool things. So, check out Pokemon, check out sports, check out women's luxury bags. Like, kind of pop into all these different categories and see sort of what are the the sellers that are doing well. What kind of things are they doing, and see how you can incorporate that into your own style within your category. I think that's a pretty cool thing to do, and I think you'll learn a lot from that experience. All right, look, chat. We covered so much here. Here's what we're gonna do. We're going to rate a seller. Of course, again, chat. This is going to be available on YouTube probably late this week, or early next week. And there was a lot of really good information here. Like honestly, I might even watch it back just so I could hear what Colleen was saying again, because 3 years into working out Whatnot, I'm learning all the time. Like this app is continuously evolving and improving and becoming better and better and better. And so great information here. Thank you so much, Colleen, for taking the time and coming and bringing this knowledge and sharing it with all these with over six at a time, almost 700 people. So we appreciate that. Chat, if we could blow it up for Colleen, show a little love.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a really big privilege to be here and to talk to all of you guys. I'm obsessed, obviously, with the new seller experience, and we do work around the clock to try to make it as good as possible. But I do understand that there's always more that we can do. And so I really appreciate everybody that's patient with us and is giving us feedback. And especially for the sellers that are there who are helping new sellers. Thank you so much because I do think it takes a village, and it's amazing to see all of the support that's happening between the seller community. So happy selling. I hope that this was helpful. I will read all of your questions and comments after this, and hopefully you'll see some of these things bubble up on our roadmap. But again, thank you so much for having me, Kenny.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a star. Chat loved you.
Okay, good.
And yeah, chat also, look, this is something that we do monthly, like pretty much monthly, this type of format. So if you got value out of it, drop a follow, bookmark upcoming shows. I think we're already scheduled with shows all the way through the end of October. So you can kind of see like what's interesting to you in there. I know we got a shipping best practices one next month, which I know is a hot topic, especially among new sellers. So bookmark, tune in, etc. Appreciate all of you. The vibes have been, I mean, unbelievably good, and really we appreciate our users. I think it's again one of the things that's so cool about working at Whatnot is that like how heard our users are and seen, and like how everything we do. When Colleen says they're working around the clock to like make it the best experience, like that's just that is true. Like I can tell you, I see it as from the inside, and it's very cool. And so hats off to Colleen and her team who are trying to build this thing. I mean, we're still very much in early days here at Whatnot. Like I believe that if you're a new seller on Whatnot, you're still very much on the ground floor of what we're building. So stick around. Really cool things are being developed. And I think you'll love it. So with that, let's go ahead and rate. I got a seller by the name of Ember Line Wax, and we're gonna rate. I'm not even sure. This comes from Casey, and she found this seller, and we're going to rate it. Look, you don't have to buy anything, of course. Please don't feel like that you need to. But 500 people pulling up to a seller could be a very meaningful moment for that seller. And so just show some love, hang out, maybe say a nice word in the chat, and if you like the show, stick around and whatever. But you know how we do it. Just pull up, show love, and we will catch you next week on this channel. Thank you again, Colleen.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.